Hello, veterinary friends. Welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today, I have an incredible guest for you. His name is Dr. Len Lopez. He is a nutrition and fitness expert, as well as an inventor. For over 25 years, he has trained as a nutritionist, strength and conditioning coach, applied kinesiologist, and chiropractic sports physician. He was a regular guest on Good Morning Texas and Natural Health Made Simple, and has hosted a show on oneplace.com. He's written for many publications, and he's developed the 5 Steps program, which he's going to teach us about today. And he also told me that he's rescued 5 dogs over the past 20 years, and so we'll be interested to hear about that. Welcome to the podcast, Len.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. I'm really interested in this subject because I'm always, at the beginning of the year, we're always trying to get in shape, and I'm always thinking I can improve on the way I take care of myself. So this is going to be fun to learn about. So my first question to all my guests is always to tell me their story, because I like to hear how you got from where you started, wherever you want to start, to what you do today.
Funny you say that because in my home, me and my wife have different. She knew what she wanted to do when she got out of high school, went to college, got her degree in engineering, has been doing that for 30 years, right? And where
Yeah,
I just kind of navigated, here, there,
you're a
there.
wanderer, huh?
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't become a doctor until I was in my mid 30s. Where before I was in business, I was an inventor. Me and my brothers had a business. We used to manufacture baseball batting gloves, golf gloves, water ski
Oh,
gloves.
cool.
Was in the financial markets for a while until,
Yeah.
what's that movie? I forget the name of the movie off the top of my head. When the whole financial trading, stocks and all that crumbled
Oh,
down and
yeah.
everything, that
I know
affected
what you're
me at
talking
that.
about, but I can't think of the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that affected me. And then finally, I had broken my back when I was like I think I was 21, playing ball, and it was through there that I kind of discovered, hey, maybe I need to, that it just got me on a different journey because I started in college, in the medicine, pharmacy, medicine. I wasn't sure which one, and after about a year. I just couldn't handle all the chemistry and biology because it was like this is all memorization. Where am I using my
Yeah, I want to do something.
yeah, yeah. And so I stepped away after a year and then got into business and let me think, yeah, what's going to be a better color that's going to convert somebody's thinking or how you write stuff out has a psychological advantage other than saying it this way. And so I thought that was really cool. And so that was really that tickled my feather basically. And so I'd been doing that for years and everything and again lost my when me and my brothers had our company, I lost my house, lost our business.
Wow.
And for a few years, I became an actor. So I was,
Really?
Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Los Angeles. And as I always say, after 5 years, I didn't become Tom Cruise's friend. And so our best friend. And so I said, all right, I need to make more money. And so that's how I got into the healthcare industry.
So you went back to school then? You were in
Yes.
business, you lost your business, you were actor, then you went back to school, and that's how you got into the sports medicine and the chiropractic and all that?
Yeah, because when I did break my back, no one really helped me very much until I went to this one chiropractor, and he just really was amazing for me and everything. And I thought, wow, that's really impressive. And the next 7 years, 8 years, just kind of did other stuff, right? Because again, I
Right.
broke my back when I was 21, and then me and my brother really didn't start working together until I was like 25. And then when my injury happened, or after those years, I just thought gosh, I started feeling more and more problems with my back and everything. And then I just started learning more about the health and fitness. I grew up an athlete, I mean, I wasn't a great athlete. I was a good athlete. I'm sure if somebody of my old high school friends, they go, "Yeah, you stunk, Len." So I'll just say I was a decent athlete. Um,
Right.
but it was, that really tickled me when I met a couple of these chiropractors, and then they were just also helped pull me into the whole nutrition aspect of it, how important it
Sure.
is. It's not just what structurally fixing all the structure, but how are you nourishing the body? What kind of nutrients are you eating cookies and crackers all day long? Or are you eating fruits and veggies to help support your system. And so
Yeah.
that really moved me because I saw it within myself, and that's kind of how I evolved to where I started, what, 30 years ago in practice.
So how do you break your back? You were playing baseball?
Well, I was in a softball league and everything. It was elite softball league, and I was trying to do my Pete Rose imitation. For those who are old enough to remember the way Pete Rose used to slide
Yes.
into, he was really the first one that did, I think, with the head first slide. And so trying to slide into
Oh
third base,
no.
and the guy was like this 300-pound lineman playing third base, and we
Oh
just hit
no.
in the certain position, and it just crunched me.
Oh
And
man.
so yeah, that. It was compression fractures, L4,
Yeah.
L5, S1.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big injury,
Yeah, it
especially
was.
at 21. Yeah, that's a big mental thing to go through as well, I would imagine.
It was tough, and then it was just always just the fear of going, am I getting worse? Am I getting worse? Trying to be guarding so much.
Careful.
And I
Yeah.
will have to tell you this. For the audience that are old enough to remember, it was a great movie, Electric Horseman, with Robert Redford and Jane Fonda years ago. You may remember it or not,
I
but there
kind of
was a
remember
scene
that.
where they show him getting up out of bed, and he was just this wrinkled old guy that can barely move, and that was me. And then just some of the people that was happening for like 5, 6, 7 years, and then it hit me. Somebody just got me into. It may have been an old girlfriend, but it got me into moving and stretching. And so from ever since that point on, about late 20s, that I try to. I say stretch every night, but my wife hates me because I won't. We don't have like a coffee table in our living room. And it's because, well, no, I like to lay on the floor, put the TV on, watch the news, watch late night show, and then just stretch my back and just get everything. So before I lay down, so that's kind of really helped me a whole lot to be as still as mobile as I am for being in the latter part of my seventh decade.
So tell me about the program that you came up with that you teach. It's called
Well,
STEPS, right? STEPS.
Yeah, it's called 5 steps a day. And for years that I was helping patients and others with how to eat right and train smart. And through all that time helping people, I'm sure you've seen that in your practice also. When you become acquainted with your patients and everything, they start sharing more about
Right.
what's going on in their life and everything.
Right.
And as I'm sitting there trying to help them in the health and fitness area of their life, they're sharing information about other aspects of their life. And I kind of want to say something, but I go, I'm here because they want to talk, or they're here because they want my expert opinion in this.
Right.
Yet they're talking about their relationships, their problems with their kids, their wife, their spouse, their work, this, that, and the other. And I wanted to help, but I just no stick in my lane. But I
Stay in your
also
lane.
just and probably like you, I had been reading so many different books about personal growth and development and everything.
Mhm.
And so that's what 5 steps is all about. It's just a simple way to track or to improve your habits and attitude by tracking how you feed body, mind, and spirit. I know a lot of your listeners, I'm sure they track their steps for their physical activity because they're worried
Right.
about their
With
blood
their
pressure,
Apple
their
Watches, right?
yeah, okay, perfect. And so they're tracking their steps. But my question comes back to, all right, what are you doing for your mind and your spirit? How are you do? Are you doing anything for your mind and spirit, or is it just kind of, yeah, you're just doing it? And so 5 steps of the day. It's just a simple. In 2 minutes, you can track how you feed body, how you feed mind, how you feed spirit. It's just a simple way to improve your habits and attitude. And once you start recognizing that, you can make improvements in each of those areas of your life.
Yeah. So it's the physical combined with the mental, which is the key, right? Like you can't do one without the other. If your
Yeah,
mind isn't in good shape, you're not going to be able to get your body in good shape. It all kind of goes together.
absolutely. Because I always tell everybody, you're as an adult, okay? Because I've talked to teens as well as adults and everything. As an adult, I am the one that's responsible for what we put in the shopping cart. If our grocery shopping cart, I'm the one responsible, me and my wife, for putting it into the house and everything. And so my kids, I'm the older guy with younger kids. and they would tell me that, Dad, we have like the worst food in the house. I go, no, we don't. They go, oh no, what you're saying, we don't have enough junk food and snacks that you get at your friend's house. So,
Right.
so not that we don't have any, but believe me, when I do my splurge meals, and I do my splurge meals, and my kids will knock me out in a heartbeat how bad my splurge meals are. But when we have them, I just don't have just gobs of it, so we can just go in the pantry. I don't like what you made today, Dad, so I'm going to eat all these crackers or all these chips or all the other stuff. So,
Right.
we are what you eat. And, as an adult, you have to make sure that are you doing the same thing for your kid? Are you doing your same thing for yourself? Who are you going to blame if you're 50 pounds overweight and you're saying, but you're the one that keeps going and putting stuff in the shopping cart. And I'm sure you the same way. We have to teach them how to navigate through that cookie and chip aisle to where, hey, it's not bad to have those cheat meals, but you can't have it all around you because it's kind of like, if you keep so much stocked in the house, it's easy to get, it's just temptation. And so just
Yeah.
limit some of the temptations for yourself and be the responsible adult.
Yeah, you kind of have to clean up your environment. It's like right now I have in my pantry a big thing of leftover Christmas candy, and I have to put it way in the back because if I see it every time I open the pantry, I'll want to eat it. So
Yeah.
I hide things on myself,
Okay.
and that's the way to avoid it. So tell me, the STEPS stands for sleep,
Sleep,
think, eat, physical, and
physical,
spirit, right?
and spirit. And, and,
Okay.
and, and it's
Tell
just
us
a
about
simple
each
way.
of those steps.
It's let's go back to because I know you said you're using your Apple Watch to
Yep,
track
I
your
have my
physical
Apple
steps, right?
Watch on. Yep.
Okay. And so all we're doing, the app, you can download the app. It's free to download, or you can use it on paper and pencil if you like doing paper and pencil. But but for the step, let's talk about physical. Did you do anything physical? Did you get your steps in? If you did, you shade in the letter P because you did something physical. Did you eat right today? Okay. I'm not asking if you ate perfect. I'm not asking if it was all, grass fed and all organic because we're all starting from different starting points, right? Some
Sure.
people just leaving off the dessert is a plus for them. Leaving
Right.
off that second serving, staying away from all the sugary drinks with the meal and everything. Did you eat better today? Did you at least eat two good meals? Because most people are going to eat 3 meals a day. On average, okay. Did you at
Right.
least have two good meals and one bad meal? And I say it that way, Julie, because I'm sure you've seen various diet books that are out there talking about, the diet you need to eat this, this, and this. And I'll see patients. They'll tell me, Doc, I was doing so good for the first 2 days, for the first 5 days, or however long, and then I went off the wagon. I went out with my friend, and it was just all garbage food and everything, and I did terrible. And now and they haven't got back on the wagon for 3, 4, 5 days. All we're
Right.
trying to do, did you eat at least two? Did you at least eat more good meals than bad? So often people they'll have a good breakfast possibly. Then they may have a decent lunch and they're happy with that. But then they go
Right.
out for dinner with their friends. It's an anniversary, it's a birthday party, it's a celebration, and maybe that's when they splurge. And unfortunately for some people, they cash in all their chips and they're done with their diet.
And then they're like, okay, I
Yeah,
just blew it. Now I'm off of it again. Yeah.
yeah. And so
The
what we
all
want
or
to say,
nothing
hey,
mentality.
2 steps forward, 1 step back, it still has you moving in the right direction. And to
Sure.
use a baseball analogy, being a sports guy, home runs are great. But base hits you can still win the game with just base hits out there. And so
Right.
that's what we're trying to do. If you ain't good for the day, shade in the letter E, pat yourself on the back and move on. If you had two bad meals and one good meal, okay, you don't shade in the step. But the real key here, it's kind of like Seinfeld's calendar. For some of the audience remember, Seinfeld created a calendar years ago, and it was just a visual stimulus to where when you look at his calendar, and all he did is if he marked a big X on the day that he wrote 10 jokes that day, that was a thumbs up for him. And then
Yeah.
he realized that when he would look at that calendar, he would see a bunch of X's and he didn't want to see the blank spots. it's that visual cue that he was getting
Right.
triggered with. And so it's the same way with steps. You're shading in the footsteps, and you can see each day, each week, did you take, hey, this week I took 28 steps towards better health and wellness and everything. Ooh, I only took 5 steps, 7 steps this week.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for your successes? If you're about 18, 22, 25 years of age, you're responsible, not your kids
Sure.
or anything. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, well, if I want to get to A, I need to take these steps to make that happen. And so 5 steps is just a simple way of tracking what you're doing, how you're doing, and if you're doing it enough to get where you want to go.
Well, and if people haven't seen your app, and because I looked at it, I didn't start using it, but I did look at it and sign up. It kind of it has little footprints that almost like you're coloring in, right? So it's very visual, just like you described.
How I kind of started the whole thing. I used to have calendars when I was back in my 20s, and I would just put notations of what I did because I said, okay, I'd already graduated college and everything. I was in my mid 20s. Okay, did I practice my golf today? Did I stretch out today? Did I read today? Did I work out? Did I just various things that I
Yeah,
was
like a
trying to
little
improve on.
checkbox.
And by the end of the week, I could see how many check marks, how many letters, whatever I was creating for myself,
Right.
and I could see, wow, I did good there. Great. I didn't do very good this week. And so, honestly, it must have been about 2 years ago. I was being interviewed by Authority magazine. They were doing an interview with me. We had done an interview on health and fitness. They came back and said, "Hey, Doc, we want to do another article on health and fitness, but we want to kind of do it more along the body, mind, spirit thing. I don't
Mm,
know if that's within your realm or not. Just let us know. Give us your thoughts, Doc." So I kind of thought about it for a second. I said, because I hadn't done anything with 5 steps because I created it 20 years earlier, but I just
right.
never implemented or did anything with it. And then I said, okay, I shared it with the writer who was interviewing me. And he came back, and the next day, then the editor called me and said, "This is the coolest thing. We've never seen anything like this. It's an accountability app." Yeah,
Right.
and so after they told me that, I started scratching my head. I wonder if there's any meat on this bone. And I shared it with some other, circle of friends, and they all came back and really they told me two things. They kept saying, "Len, this is really cool. This needs to be an app." And I'm thinking calendar. I'm the print
Well,
person, right?
right. Yeah, because
But they would always tell me
written.
two things. They
Yeah.
would say, "Doc, yeah, this needs to be an app, and can I get a copy of this for my kids to read?"
Okay.
And I just really, and so that's kind of motivated me. And then I found out, shared it with, one of my pastors out there, and he just said, "Hey, Doc, we're doing something in a few months about for our teen group and everything. We'd love for you to come and talk about that whole think process and sleep think and that foot that because just the way we feed our body is also how do we feed our mind? Are we feeding our mind?" With words of confidence, words that help motivate you and get you ready for the big game, or do you just constantly keep telling yourself, "I can't do it. It's not for me. It's not meant to be."
Right. So that's the second letter, the T, which is thinking better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's like,
what do you tell people if they feel like they have a lot of negative thoughts? Because that's what I coach people on a lot. We have all these negative thoughts and we have a hard time getting out of it. So what's your advice for that?
to begin with, what I've learned, researchers say that we process about 50,000 thoughts a day, you know?
Mhm.
And so of those 50,000 thoughts, the one thing that was, I couldn't believe that number. But as I started doing more research, they say of those 50,000 thoughts we process, 80% of our thoughts are slanted negatively. And
Mhm.
we're thinking about whatever happened yesterday. And,
Right.
and when you think about it, it's kind of like if you look at, if you're a business owner, you get 9 really good reviews and 9 comments, but the one comment that says you stink, that's the one that keeps you up and has you grinding your
Right.
teeth. And
Yeah.
so when I started understanding that, and years ago I was reading, The Power of Positive Thinking back in the 80s and Think and Grow Rich, those books out there.
Right.
And I think one of the ones I read, I forget, I think it was The Power of Positive Thinking. I got maybe a third of the way through here and then I threw it away because there's like I hate saying it this way, but there was too much God in the book and everything. And I threw it away and everything. It wasn't until about 10 years later that I picked it up. And I went full circle in my spiritual walk and everything. But it
Right.
was, what do we feed our mind? You are what you eat, you are what you think. You go back to Confucius, Buddha, in biblical writings, you basically says you reap what you sow. So what kind of thoughts do you reap? 80% of our thoughts are slanted negatively. So you have to consciously put an effort to get from 80-20 to maybe 78-22% good thought. Give yourself a good thought. And what I really want you to hear, and your audience to hear, is you don't have to sit there and repeat like a magic phrase, a bazillion times to make yourself feel better. But just understand this. If 80% of your thoughts are negative, and if you can take a minute here, a minute here, and a minute here throughout the day, and give yourself self-talk. It might feel awkward to begin with, to talk to yourself, to inspire yourself, or give you some words of wisdom. But people vacation, they travel by themselves, they dine by themselves, they work out by themselves, they sleep by themselves. So self-talk is not a big deal. It just might be awkward. But if you can take a minute to tell them to whatever phraseology you want to use, is that I'm healthy, I'm strong, I can do it, I'm the best, I'm bigger, better, bolder. That's one less minute here, one less minute here, one less minute here, that you're not kicking yourself in the rear of what you can't do. And
Right.
so I don't know how much it's going to take to move the needle. Maybe it's 1% will make a noticeable difference. Maybe it's 3%, but your outlook, just the same way you can talk yourself into, oh, this is not going to work, I can't do this and everything, you can also talk yourself into, hey, I can do this. I can make it. I can make it. I can be successful. I can be a winner. I'm the best. I'm going to give a great speech. I'm going to give a great performance. I'm going to give a great, when I, being a sports guy, I would always say, you never walk up to the batter's box, up to the free throw line, or up to the microphone thinking you're going to stink.
Right.
You'll never get anywhere if you have that attitude. You have to tell yourself that. And so every day when you wake up each morning, how long does it take you after your feet hit the ground before you tell yourself, I'm going to have a great day. I feel great. Life's getting better. Do you not remind yourself, take a minute here, not until after you go to the bathroom? After you shower, after breakfast, after getting the kids to school, after getting to the office, lunchtime. When do you remind yourself? And so a little here, a little there, a little there. Yeah, if we could go from 80-20 to 60-40, fantastic. But I think for a lot of people, if they go from 80-20 to 78-22, there could be a noticeable difference in their life, in their outlook. And all we're trying to do is just move the needle from here. And we are as an adult, and I'm sure you know this too, we are responsible for what we put not just in our grocery cart, right, for our feeding our body, but we are responsible for what we put into our mental shopping cart. What kind
Right.
of thoughts are you putting into your mental shopping cart? And this
Mhm.
is where and I think what a lot of people saw when they started seeing the stuff, they go, oh, this is really helpful for young kids, because a lot of the kids, they get full control of what they put into their mental shopping cart by the time they're 10 years old.
Right.
They're already thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have fun at school. I don't like that person in there. I can't do this. So, feeding our mental thoughts, begins at a very early age. And so we have to try to help move people from that fear, worry, and anxiety into, hey, bigger, better, bolder in life.
Right, right. And I try to remind people that you say 80% of our thoughts are negative, and that's kind of by design. Like there's not something wrong with you that that's happening. It's that our brain is designed to keep us safe.
Thank you.
So if it says negative stuff, we're going to be less likely to take risks and step out of our comfort zone. And so if you can convince yourself that you are better than your brain says that it is, and kind of give yourself some positive affirmations, that's really going to change. It's going to change your life, and it's going to change what you get out of your life.
Oh, we're saying, hey, if you caught yourself throughout the day, once, two times, three times a day, just reminding yourself, I like to use the term that, we can all say, for us in our age category, we might say, yeah, you want to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. But some of your listeners might say, hey, I just want to be bigger, better, bolder,
Right.
because too many people walk around thinking that they're doomed, dazed, and defeated. And so you have
Mhm.
to kind of, remind yourself that when you get up to the batter's box, when you step up to the microphone, onto the court, If you think you're not going to do well, you're not going to. So you have to start reminding yourself bit by bit by bit that you can do this. You're up to that. Yeah, you feel great. I'm strong. I'm healthy. Whatever it is that you are trying to, overcome.
Right, right. And so you're feeding your brain thoughts just like you're feeding your body good food.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so
Exactly.
important. Yeah, I love the way you look at it. That's really cool. So what about the sleep part of it? Because this is a part that I'm not very good at. I've never been a great sleeper. So I don't know. I just have this attitude that I don't want to sleep. So
Right.
tell me about that. I think
Okay.
that's an
Now,
important one that we forget about.
and here's the point I want you to understand. When I talk about sleep, I talk about, did I sleep and dream about my tomorrow? Because when you spend a third of your life asleep, meaning your subconscious mind is in full control. And
Right,
and think about this. If you fall asleep watching a scary movie, what kind of thoughts are going to probably be rolling through your mind for the next 7 or 8 hours? Something along that fear mode, right? How
right.
many people fall asleep with the remote control in their hand or their cell phone in their hand, right? And when that happens, you just doze off and your mind is going to just kind of go, as we said a minute ago, I think we both agreed on, that is more tendency to think on the negative side. So
Sure.
that's what you're going to fill your mind with. So I'm just saying, hey, how are you feeding your subconscious mind? Your conscious mind can direct your subconscious mind. So before you fall asleep at night, can you think about what it is you want to see yourself achieve, what you want tomorrow to be like? And tomorrow could be, 3 days down the road, 3 weeks down the road, 3 years down the road. Where are you trying to go? Because when you fall asleep, if you don't know what you want to see happen with your life with your eyes closed, how much harder is it going to be to make that dream come true with your eyes wide open? So
Right,
if you have to have goals in your life, you have to have something to shoot for. You don't have to think, 5 years down the road. It could be just, hey, if you're a student, I'm trying to do good in this test in a few days. I want to make sure I do good on this audition. I want to do good on this presentation I'm giving. If you're a worker, hey, I'm going to be making this presentation to an employee, a prospective client. Everybody has different venues that they need to be successful in or be victorious in. And so, can you see yourself if you're a student? Oh, I want to see myself get that scholarship. I want to see myself buy a new car. I want to see myself get that corner office over there at the job. Do you have something to shoot for? I mean, as I said, if you don't know where you want to go, or let me say it this way. I always talk about, the land of milk and honey. We've all heard of the proverbial land of milk and honey. Don't complain if you we all want to be at the land of milk and honey. Don't complain if you arrive at the land of headaches and heartache if you don't know where your land of milk and honey is. So you have to
Mm,
kind of know where you want to go. When I was in practice, when you were in practice also, I'm sure you had to think, okay, this is going to be a successful practice. You could see how much income how many patients you want to see, how many, and you had to work on those mental issues, those mental thoughts, because that was victorious. You don't
right,
think, okay, I'm not gonna, you don't think of yourself going up to the batter's box thinking I'm gonna strike out. You think of
right,
yourself getting a hit, getting a home run. So whatever it is that you want to see happen in your life, do you if you have goals, something to dream about, something to think about, it's easy to wander in every direction. But if you know where you're trying to go in a month, in a week, in a year, hey, I'm looking to have a good health report. I'm going to go see the doctor in 3 weeks and everything. I need a better health report. I need to start doing this stuff to make it happen. I need to see myself just happiest. Oh, I finished paying my mortgage. I tore up my mortgage. What are
yeah,
you trying to achieve? And so after when you go to bed at night, after you say your prayers and everything, just close your eyes and see that visual image of whatever goal you want to see happen. And what happens, the power of visualization, is that as you close your eyes and you start focusing on that dream, let's just say you want to have a successful practice. Hey, do I see myself and I see that ledger book with 30 patients coming in that day, whatever the number is, 30 patients coming in. Here's the financial numbers I'm going to see. Can you see that in your mind? And as you focus on it more clearly, that's there a smile starts slowly developing. And as that picture becomes more and more vivid with your eyes closed, that smile becomes bigger. And I mean, at nighttime, sometimes it's just so big. I'm just kind of all of a sudden I catch myself. I'm kind of laughing. I say I can't believe how good of a smile because I can see where I'm trying to, what I'm looking at. It becomes so vivid in my mind. So my body sees it, feels it, every molecule in the body. My subconscious mind is feeding off of that. So, if you do that at nighttime when you go to bed, you can think for a minute. Again, this is why vision boards are very good. You can
Right. I
look at
love
that
that.
vision board before you go to bed to remind you, oh, there's that cruise I want to take. There's that car I'm going to have. There's that I want to get that scholarship, whatever it may be. And if you can close your eyes and see that before you fall asleep, it just helps that subconscious mind chew on that because it's going to chew on something, right?
Right.
And when you're
Right.
sleeping, and so can you use your conscious mind to direct your subconscious mind to move you in the direction that you want to go. That way, when you get to that land of milk and honey, you're not complaining that you are yeah, that you can get to the land of milk and honey you're trying to achieve, as opposed to just saying, "Oh my gosh, if you're going to keep on complaining, it's because you were thinking about the land of heartaches and headaches. You didn't know what you were trying to get to, and so you know, goal setting. And again, you don't have to think about what's going to be 5 years down the road. I mean, that was one of mine. Being not getting married until my into my late 30s and everything. But it's like, okay, I've been single for a long, long time, and I started visualizing I needed my marriage,
Right. You
and I didn't
wanted
know
the
who it
thing
was,
ready.
but 5 years later, it turned out exactly the way I kept on visualizing it. Just seeing this church wedding out there, and my wife and my mom and my dad and my brothers and my friends there, and it finally turned up that way. So you can visualize what you want to visualize and everything, and gives yourself some direction. So that's all the first step is about sleep. What are you doing for the third of your life? Are you helping your subconscious mind move you to where you want to go? Are you just taking a random shot and just
Yeah.
hoping, you fall asleep with the remote control in your hand, and then who are you blaming for your subconscious thinking and where it's directing you?
Right. Yeah. And I find that if I do have a goal and I fall asleep on that, that sometimes your brain figures it out for you. If you're not quite sure what the next step is, sometimes your brain will figure it out while you're sleeping and you'll wake up with ideas that you didn't have the night before. Yeah, so
The
that's
brain's
definitely true.
and all we're just trying to do is, what are you feeding your mind, your not just your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind. And as my wife would always tell me, you need to make sure you get your subconscious mind talking together because you sometimes say too much stuff off the top of your head, Lana. You should have thought about that before you said that in public.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I sometimes say things before I think them all the way through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so let's see. We did sleep, think, eat, physical, which is pretty obvious, right? Do some physical exercise. And then you've got the last one is spirit and working on your spiritual muscles. And that's probably going to be different for a lot of people, but tell me what it is
Exactly.
for you.
And for me, like I said, coming from the health and fitness industry, I used to know that, hey, if I wanted to stay physically fit, I needed to exercise my physical body more than once a week, once a month, twice a year, right?
Right.
And so, as I've gone, as I said earlier, my spiritual walk has gone full circle in my life. And so, all I'm asking you guys, wherever you're at in your walk, right? It's an important part of who you are, your spiritual
Sure.
walk, your physical, your mental. You can only be strong enough in my physical body for my physical body if I exercise my body more than once a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Well, the same is true in your spiritual walk. Are you hoping to deal with the headaches that we're going to face in life, whether it's your spouse, your job, your career, or your kids that are going to drive you batty? What strength do you have to support yourself through those times? And so for me, it's like, okay, I used to get mad and said, okay, I'm going to sit and read, every day. I'm going to read that. And I used to, back in the 80s, right? And I think, okay, I'm not doing really good at this. I could always find an excuse not to read, right? And so then I thought, Len, if I equate my spiritual walk with my physical goals of being in good physical shape and everything, how come I can always find a way to exercise my body, but I can't do anything to exercise my spiritual muscles? Then I finally realized, oh, it wasn't a priority for me or whatever. But then I started
Right.
going, hey, don't beat yourself up, Len, because I didn't read 7 days in a row. You know,
Right.
hey, back in the 70s, we all had AM radios, right? And I'd push the radio while I'm driving to work, to the airport, this and that. And hell, I heard a pastor, I heard a podcast. I can't say a podcast back in the day, but I heard
Radio
somebody.
show,
Hey,
same thing, right?
yeah, it gave me, it touched my spirit for those 15, 20, 30 minutes that I listened to it and everything. And it made me feel better. Said, hey, you don't have to just lift weights or run or bike or swim. There's various ways to physically strengthen the body. And there's various ways you can go about strengthening your spiritual muscles. And
Mm,
today, with the advent of our cell phone, you can listen to podcasts, there's music, you can fellowship with others, you can attend service, and of course you can read. And so I'm just saying, if you're struggling somewhere in your spiritual walk, maybe you're just not doing enough of it. And, it needs to be a daily thing, possibly. Maybe, and don't kick yourself in the rear if it's not daily for you.
right.
But, more than where you're at
More than you
today,
used to do it, right?
yeah. And hopefully, like anything else, when I have patients come in and I can see they're 250 pounds and everything, I'm not going to expect them to be able to go run 3 miles tomorrow and give them this is your tomorrow's workout.
Right.
It's, hey, tomorrow I want to see you just get up and just walk down to the mailbox outside, for 3 minutes and go down the end of the street and walk back and everything. Well, that ain't nothing, doc. But if they started doing that, they go, oh, that wasn't bad. Get on
Makes
your
it
exercise bike.
easier.
Just give me 3 minutes. I just went 3 minutes. And then they realized 3 minutes wasn't very challenging enough after the first couple of days. And then 5 minutes started happening. And then 7 minutes started happening. And so they started realizing, hey, this is making a benefit for me. So I just look at it the same way, working your spiritual muscles, because in my opinion, to neglect your spirit is like skipping a meal. It leaves you empty. And so I encourage those who may or may not, wherever they are in their walk, maybe they need to just look to see how they are feeding their spiritual muscles.
Yeah. So if people take these steps, how long, in your opinion, does it take to start to turn it into more of a habit? Like it's
Now,
something that you want to keep doing and that you continue. And I would think if they have your tracker, it's going to help. So what do you think about that? Like changing your thought habits, physical habits, all of that.
change, I like to, I'm an acronym kind of guy, right? Just with the word steps and everything. And
Yeah.
change, I just always say, change is about creating habits and attitudes now for greater expectations. You don't want to change for the worse. You want to change for the better. And
Right.
so for some people, a lot of the these the so-called experts that talk about, habits and this, that, and the other, and
90
goals, they go,
days and all that. Yeah.
yeah, it takes 21 days. It takes 90 days to change a
Right.
habit. It's like anything else. A habit is nothing more than a habit. Habits it's like your DNA. It's your genetic code, right? If you trace back your genetic code, you can see where you came from. Well, if you trace back your habits and attitude, you might see that some of the successes and accomplishment in your life have been a result of those better habits and attitude.
Mhm.
But by the
Absolutely.
same token, if you trace back your habits and attitudes, you may see that some of your difficulties and challenges have been a result of the lack of some of those habits and attitudes. Maybe,
Sure.
okay, I was watching too many cat videos. I was playing too much Xbox. I was watching too many football games, right?
Right, right.
What is it that's pulling you away? And so this is what it's about being an adult. You get to make decisions for yourself. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with downtime. I watch TV as well, right? Sports programs and things like that. But it's like, hey, I also make sure I'm doing the other things that are going to strengthen me physically, mentally, spiritually, and everything enough to where I can get where I feel like it's helping me, as
I
opposed
love
to,
it.
I mean, because you know as well as I do, it's easy to get stuck on here. The next thing you know, 5 minutes turned into 45 minutes. Oh, now I don't have enough time to make myself a decent breakfast. I'm going to just pick something to eat on the go, which is, eating on the go. That's a whole nother story of headaches that we create for our body, right? And
Right.
so life is all about decisions. I try to tell people, life is all about choices. What kind of choices are you making? You can't keep kicking somebody else for your bad choices and everything. So, when you become an adult, when your first 18 years of life, you don't have you everything's kind of predestined for you. Even after from 18 to 22, 25, you're still, maybe you're still not sure what.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, but after that, you're the one that's responsible for those decisions and everything. And so, are you making decisions that are going to help you or not? Spending an hour and a half, answering social media stuff, is that beneficial for you? Hey, maybe 15 minutes would have been good, and the other 15 minutes I could have been on the treadmill. I could have been going outside. I could have been, taking the time to make myself a better meal as opposed to saying, let me just, I'm going to stop by, and I don't
Rush.
want to beat up any chain, but just the choices. Life is all about choices.
Right. So tell before we wrap this up, I want to hear about your dog rescues and then we'll tell people where to find all your information.
Okay. Well, me and my wife got married and everything years ago, and 27 years ago, approximately. I'll say that number,
That's
approximately.
good.
And I said, okay, I grew up with dogs and everything, and so I went to one of the local shelters out here, and it's like, oh, I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I grew up with the bigger dogs. And I said, well, okay. And so he was they were going to put him to sleep the very next day because nobody had
Oh,
rescued him. And I just felt like, and he was just a great dog. His name was Sammy Sampson, and he was just a great dog. That he was first one, and then well, I didn't know my wife wasn't a dog person, even though
so
she
you
said
got the
she grew
dog,
up.
huh?
Yeah, and then so I said, well, he needs a brother. I mean, I'm glad I had two other brothers to me, and so I had to beg and plead to get a second, a year later, 2 years later, and I got Rudy, and Rudy, he was a cool dog because. He would know. I had people come up to me two or three different times asking if they could buy my Rudy
Oh, wow.
because he was none of the vets could tell me what he was. They said I think he's Beagle, but I'm not sure what he's mixed with because he doesn't look like an exact Beagle. He has all the colorings of a Beagle, but he looks. I don't know what it is. And then well later when I lost Sammy. And then I got Shaggy, and then I lost Rudy. This is again over like 12 years.
Right, right.
And then I said, okay, we just lost Rudy. I went to the shelter, and there was another dog, and I go, oh, I guarantee you, Rudy was part Beagle, part miniature pincher because
Oh,
the body typing was the exact same. Because again, he never got heavier. He was his body type was more like a miniature pincher, and but he had the markings of a beagle and everything. And that's what people say. That's a cool looking dog. And so he was a great dog. They would all run with me. We'd hold him on the leash. I had to teach them to would go walking and running and everything. And so yeah, they were great
that's
dogs. And,
awesome.
and my kids, they've had a good chance to enjoy the dogs. And my wife kind of hates them that they're in the house, and okay, as long as they stay there, and eventually it started going from
Yeah, my
there.
husband's not a dog lover either, so it can
Oh
work,
me,
right? You can have dogs and have your spouse not really be into them. I love that. So tell people where they can find your app, where they can find your information, your website, all of that. So if they want to look this STEPS program up, they can check it out.
guys, if you're trying to just improve some of your habits and attitude, you can download 5 Steps a Day. It's both on Apple and Google. It's a free app, and it's just a simple way to track how you're feeding body, mind, and spirit. If you're like me, more a paper and pencil kind of guy, you can download the calendar. You can download the little journal, the weekly journal that allows you to write with paper and pencil some of your daily thoughts
Okay.
as well. But on the app itself, you can also do the same thing. It's a journal, and you can journal, you can put journaling notes in there. It's a to-do list as well. So you can help, whatever to-do list. But it's just trying to help you. Are you doing the things you need to be doing to help you become, as I like to say, bigger, better, bolder in life?
Yeah, so 5 steps a day. Is that the name of the website?
That's the name of the website. Also, there's a teen
Okay.
version, also 5 Steps for Teens.
Thought so.
And
Yeah.
the steps are the same, but the definition are a little bit different because again, when you think about it, some of the teens, they're not like those older people thinking about calories and carbohydrates and fat grams and blood pressure and A1C. They're just
Right.
more about taste. And so I try to target it that way. Just, hey, how can you, for a lot of them, they know what a pre-game meal is, but they don't
Right.
know what a pre-brain meal is, what you should eat
Exactly.
before you go up on stage, before you sit at the desk to take a test, things like that to help them understand better how to get the most out of that, and also how not to get so bloated and gassy. And that's and the whole acne thing. There's simple things you can do improve your diet and everything.
That's great. So is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have before we wrap this up?
No, no,
Miss
no.
anything?
I hopefully we covered everything.
Yeah, it was
Enough of
great.
what enough of what would be helpful for hopefully for your audience. If they're into health and fitness, they're trying to get better. Like I said, if you're guiding them, if they want some other thoughts again on the app, there's more
Sure.
information on the app as opposed to what you find on my social media pages or website and stuff like that. So sign up to the 5 steps a day. Not only will you have a great way of tracking what you're doing, but there's additional information that's going to
That
help you
comes
in
with
other
it.
areas.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being here today. This has been a lot of fun. I
Well,
love
thank you.
talking about this kind of stuff because it's such a help to change your mindset, and this is all about changing your mind
Oh,
and
absolutely.
the
So I
body
hope
and
hope it's
everything
helpful
else.
for your viewers or your listeners.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Len Lopez. So go check out the 5 Steps a Day is the name of the app. That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Dr. Jewell. I appreciate it.
All right, bye everybody. Have a beautiful week.